We're smooth, 98.1 FM. Good morning and welcome to Business Express. It is time for us to get into the Tech Friday edition of the show as we are joined this morning by a special guest. I'm talking about Bolu Abiodun, senior reporter, Techpoint Africa. Good morning to you, Biodun.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's get into the crux of the issue this morning. It seems the mobile phone or the smartphone is becoming the crux of the issue, and a professor seemed not to be happy and want to suggest a ban on smartphone for children until they're up to age probably 18 or thereabout. So, Biodun, let's quickly get into why really this should be an issue. Is it really a big danger for children, or this professor is over professing this danger he sees?
Okay, so it's a bit of both actually. There are several studies and researches that have been done that actually prove that you know um exposure to smartphones to the internet can be detrimental to children's mental health and even their physical health. However, um it's not just the exposure, it's now the overexposure, it's the amount of time they spend on it. It is how it takes them away from other activities, right? The internet, as a way of doing that, makes you spend more time doing a lot of things online that you should have done physically. So it's now a matter of regulating it, not just taking it away completely. So he wasn't. There might be a bit of exaggeration when he says, taking it away completely, giving making them accessible to it only at a particular age. And the truth is, regardless of the age or the stage that you are as a human being, overexposing yourself or spending too much time on the internet can actually have adverse effects. Those effects could be worse for children, but adults and children should regulate, their time on the internet. So yeah, um, it is true. There might be just a bit an hint of over exaggeration on the side of the professor, but it is true. There are studies that back the fact that spending too much time on the internet for kids could actually be detrimental to them. There was one that was done in Japan, and they found out that there's a connection between behavioral problems between children who spend more time on the internet and the kind of behavioral problems they have, right? So yes, we should. It's something that parents, teachers, even the government should do something about, right? So yeah,
All right, so
that's about it.
let's go through four suggestions the professor had come made, and one of the items he said no smartphone until secondary school. Agree or disagree? And why should this be? And wouldn't that
Okay.
be wouldn't that be infringing on the fundamental rights of a child to communicate?
Mm, mm. Very, very, very good points that you've made. So I disagree, right? Because even there was a study I was looking at, right? From 2020, and he found out that we are very quick to focus on the disadvantages of electronic devices and the internet on children, right? But there are also positives. We live in a world where your ability to use these devices, right, is hinged on your ability to survive, right? So coming in contact with these devices at a young age is actually very important because you need to learn you need to be digitally literate, right, at an early stage because you need it to survive, right? Most jobs today, most things that people do, you know, you just need a smartphone for it, regardless of what you do, right? You a
Mm.
shoemaker, you're an hairdresser, you need smartphones to probably publicize yourself, market yourself. You might just be someone who maybe you're a developer, you just can't live without a
Yes.
smartphone. So they've actually seen that okay, there's a need for children, as young as 4 or 5 years old, right? To learn to be digitally literate, to be exposed to the internet, to devices at that stage, because you need it, right? It is almost, we can't deny the fact that it is almost becoming a part of us as humans. I think Elon Musk once said that it's now an extension of us, right? But what needs to be done is actually regulating the amount of time that is spent on it, making sure that it doesn't take away the other activities that children are supposed to engage in as kids, right? Playtime, play physically with friends. Those times are very important. They are very crucial, right, in the development of children. So if they don't have these other skills and they have these digital skills, it's still a minus for them growing up, right? So I won't completely agree with the professor when he says, only let them have access to it at 16. At 16, they've already missed out on a lot. I can assure you. We can see how technology is growing really fast. And if you're exposing your child to technology only at 16 years old, 14 years old, they will miss out on a lot. It will be alien to them at that point, and they should really have grown up with it. I mean, we live in an age where some people, these digital devices are needed, for some schoolwork, right? I mean, during COVID, we saw how beneficial it was, for kids, right? So, yeah, I won't completely agree with the professor.
All right, so Abiodun, before I come back to you, let's let the listener know if they agree with this professor's suggestion that smartphone should be banned for children under the age of 16, and at what age should it be appropriate to expose children to smartphone? You can let us know what your thoughts would be on 0809 will be where we get to read your thoughts this morning. Now, there's an aspect of the smartphone in itself, which is very important here. Exposure to social media. What's a smartphone without the social media now? So let's speak on that one a bit now. Isn't that concerning also that as soon as you have a smartphone, you're exposed to social media? How do we regulate that?
Okay, yes. I think social media is like the probably I don't know which word to use now, but yes, probably the most dangerous part of part of the internet, because young kids are able to meet total strangers, millions of them, right? In a second, right? And then they're exposed to bullying, a lot of things that kids, very, very dangerous things that kids can be exposed to on the internet. And which is why I say regulation really matters. And it's not just regulating the time, it's regulating what they do on the internet. There are a lot of things you can get access to on the internet very easily. And kids today, I mean, kids generally are very curious, right? Which is why parents need to be very careful on not just letting your kids use these devices. Know what your kids are doing on those devices. There are many tools, right, that parents can use today to control internet usage, right? But parents should not depend on those tools, right? Because, like I said, kids are curious, kids are a lot smarter than you think most of the time. And they know how to find their way around a lot of these tools, whatever blocks you've put there. They will find their way to, break those blocks and, explore the internet further. So, social media is I think, recently, was it this year or last year, in the US, where the Congress brought in, CEO of different social media platforms, and we're questioning them about, the effects their platforms were having on kids. You saw parents in that meeting, talking about how, what some kids saw on social media made them commit suicide. Some developed depression, anxiety. and a lot of other things. It's crazy just how dangerous, social media
Uh,
can be, even for adults, not talk of children. So,
uh,
yeah, again, it's a question of regulation.
So, Abiodun, we're gradually getting to the close of this conversation. So I'd like to throw this one in for you because it will be very important. That's
Yes.
phone-free school, children
Mm,
going to school without phones. This one sounds
mm,
pretty tough. So, and we know some of the issues our children have been able to access help because
mm,
they had phones on them while in school and others.
mm.
And so what do you make of this one?
I think there was something the professor said about this that I agree with. He said, give them flip phones, phones that don't connect to the internet, right? Give them maybe there's a kind of device that can be created for children to take to school, because there might be emergencies. They might need to call someone, might need to reach out to someone. They don't necessarily need internet-enabled phones for that, right?
Mm.
So even if they do have internet-enabled phones for school, they can control when and how they use it. You shouldn't use your phone in class, for example. That should be given. Teachers should be able to control that. But phone in schools nowadays, I mean, not just I think in Nigeria, in the US, we see that phone in schools are actually very important. So yes, I think children should take phones to schools. If you don't want them to use the internet in school, give them a phone that is not internet enabled. It's
All right.
just that simple.
Torchlight phones, you want to say. But let's quickly close
Yeah.
up and do this for us in about a minute, Abiodun. Now, today we are talking about smartphones, but it looks like very soon the AI-enabled phones are about to sweep the smartphones away. And so that's what we shall be talking about in a couple of years' time. So maybe we shall be talking about banning AI because of its impact on kids also, don't you think? In about a minute, if you do it for us now.
Yes, yes, yes. There are a lot of things about AI that we'll be talking about, and AI itself can also have really, really dangerous effects on children, because AI itself is like another way to access, like a portal into the internet that is a lot stronger, right? You ask it a question, it gives you several kinds of information, right? But then I think one thing we can do about that is government really needs to get AI regulation working. Making sure that people who are building this platform are doing it in an ethical way, right? These things will not be banned, right? And they will keep people will keep using them. So
Okay,
yes, I
Abiodun.
think that one falls on the government.
Thanks, Biodun. So let's quickly wrap up with the messages we've got coming in already. Chubike Roy Agu tells us here, says, I fully understand the dangers of early exposure to smartphones, but my wife and I have made it work. Each of our children got a phone at age 8. The oldest is now 16. But it says, they are remarkably responsible ladies and their academic performance is impressive. Now,
Hmm.
access to the internet has remarkably expanded their scope of to the internet, their scope of knowledge. This is one of the reasons we didn't send them to boarding schools. I think
Hmm.
the real problem is parental involvement in their
Exactly.
children's life, not the
Exactly.
device. Most parents are absent all day due to the career pursuits. In our case, we have been very close to our children. We also know what they consume online. They share a lot with us. Plus, we have usage time rules and other regulations attached to phone access. For instance, we refuse them to install TikTok. That's Chubike's thought on how to go about it now. Then I have one message from Fine Oluboroko saying, well, perhaps what should be done is not to completely take away smartphones from children below 16. Rather, sites they can access your phones should be restricted. These will be a win-win situation. Well, it says, my thoughts, Sha, that's Fine Oluboroko this morning. So it looks on this table for this conversation, we're saying, do not throw the baby or the children we've got with the smartphone and the water away. Take the baby, the smartphone away, and that is it. So that's where we leave it
Exactly.
this morning. I want to say thank you to Abiodun,
Thank
Bolu
you very much.
Abiodun, senior reporter, Techpoint Africa, for being our guest and for shedding your thoughts this morning with us. Have a great
Yeah.
Friday and a great weekend by extension.
Yeah. Bye.